So I mentioned Laura. So Laura Willoughby, I'm so excited to introduce next. Laura Willoughby is the founder of Club Soda. Club Soda is, give
it
that
up
a hand.
for Club Soda.
Club Soda is the world's largest mindful drinking movement, the only mindful drinking movement that I know of. And Laura is a campaigner, so she has a background of just incredible social change and a passion for it. And she literally single-handedly has created a movement whereby she goes to pubs and stores and liquor shops and makes sure that people who don't want to drink have options. How awesome is that? Please welcome Laura Willoughby.
It's a really good song if you haven't got it on Spotify. It's Avicii, The Days. It's a very good uplifting song. So it's really exciting to be here. That was a quite scary picture of me. Let me just move on a slide. Oh, wait a minute. My slide didn't work. There we are. I'm going to talk to you about how to smash a sober social life today. And just to tell you a bit about how I talk, I'm not very good at rote learning a speech, partly because there are two things that I thought would change with changing drinking, which was my memory and sleeping with inappropriate people. And neither of those have changed, right? Isn't it really awful that when you give up drinking, the things that you thought about you that were because you drank are actually part of you all along? Anybody got anything that they thought was due to drinking and is really them? That's really sad, isn't it? So I may go forward and backwards because basically every time I've come to write the speech, there's so much I really want to tell you and so much I want to share. So I may come back to it, I may forget some of it, I may tell you some of it later on in the bar. So let's see where we go. What I am going to do, though, is share you a bit of my story. So who's Club Soda members here? So quite a few of you are in our online community. I actually realise I very rarely share my story, so you're going to get a bit of insight today. So here are some pictures of me. I've got a background in politics. This is why there's many pictures of me pointing at things, because that's what you do in politics, right? I got elected at the age of 23 to local government, and I stood for Parliament twice. For anyone here from Britain, I stood twice against Jeremy Corbyn, and I'm very sorry I didn't win. I'm just apologise for that right now. But I got elected at 23, and like many people in politics, my career was fueled by what I can generally call a lot of cheap white wine. That's basically how it happened. Now, I was always a big drinker. I'm my father's daughter. I inherited his drinking habits and his boobs. He actually died when he was 56 from drink-related issues, and that was when I was 30. So I realised at 30 I had to do something about my drinking. So like all of us who know we have to do something about our drinking, I drank loads! As if somehow someone was going to take it away and there was going to be some sort of scarcity and it was going to disappear from the shelves. So I realised I should drink as much of it as possible and get in as much and then maybe think about it. And actually, I was quite a good drinker, but it's when I went into a job that I really wasn't enjoying that my drinking went up even more. It's amazing how you don't really notice it happening. You know you're unhappy with something, in this case my job, and I could find people to go out with boozy lunches with. No one really cared if I went into this job, which sounds like blissful, but really terrible for me. And my drinking went up, and I kept going, well, the only way I'm going to get out of this job is if I change my drinking, but I can't seem to change my drinking, and so I felt stuck in this job, and that cycle goes round and round and round. You may have had something similar yourself. And one day I realised that there is no good time to change, right? I was beginning to bore myself. I knew that my off switch had broken. So a lot of us here talk about not having an off switch. I think mine broke when I was about 35. And I've tried to stop using the off switch analogy actually because it makes it sound like there's a switch, you can switch the other way and you'll be okay. And that somehow it's a very binary thing that you are either an okay drinker or not drinker, and there's a little switch that you can flick. And actually that's a bit of a misconception, as we all know, because if it was that easy, we might have turned the switch the other way. But basically, I didn't drink every day. I probably drank every other day because I was no good at drinking on a hangover. But I would drink every other day, and I just wouldn't know when to stop. And I began to really bore myself and frighten myself quite a lot. So I set a day that I was going to give up drinking. For some of you, today may be that day, actually. You've come here, you've drawn a line in the sand, you've said, right, I'm going to invest a whole day, a whole weekend in thinking about changing my drinking, which is what I did. And I accidentally put in place some very good behaviour change techniques by accident. And it's partly why I decided to start Club Soda. But there was something incredibly powerful in making that decision. I'm recognising that there is no good time. I gave up 2 weeks before my birthday. And I remember going out on that birthday to a restaurant. And despite the fact that none of us at the table had drunk any alcohol, they still brought us free limoncellos at the end of the meal. Hadn't got any clues there, the fact that nobody at the table was drinking. And I cried because I refused free alcohol. I now do the same with cake, so, you know, some things don't change. But anyway, so I decided that I had to change my drinking, and I drew a line in the sand, and I really wanted to make a switch. Now, who wants to see my before and after photos? Now, I very rarely share these either, because I normally put them at the end of a feedback form, because it really focuses people's minds on giving me feedback. So I'm going to show you these pictures, and the before picture is one I actually found by Googling my name. So that's really upsetting, right? Because it's still out there for the world to see. All right, go! Oh! It's really awful. Now, but some of you may recognise this. That left-hand photo, I'm not actually that much lighter than that left-hand photo. But in the left-hand photo, not only have I got shit hair, right? It's really bad hair. But I was somebody who carried all of my drinking in my face. So who of you here has, within weeks of giving up drinking, have noticed it in your face? It's amazing, isn't it? All those things you think about, like it must be all the weight and all that sort of stuff. It's just been inflaming your face all this time. It's amazing. So it showed really quickly for me, and lots of people asked me about it. Now, I'm going to move off of this because it's distressing me. I'm going to go back to this one. It feels a little bit better. Look, pointing at things. Hooray! It was amazing. I actually went on a one-day course, and I might say it out loud here. I went on the Alan Carr Easy Way one-day course. It made me so fucking angry that I didn't drink again, basically. That's what made me so angry about it. It's not how they were meant it to work, I think. But I was really angry because in the room with me were people who I knew were dependent drinkers, who were physically dependent on alcohol, and they were telling people to go away and never drink again, and that there is no after support. You know, 96% of people succeed on Alan Carr. It's only because it's based on the number of people who don't ask for a refund, basically. And that's their evaluation, guys. It's great, isn't it? And they give you no support. You go into that room, they talk at you for a whole day, and then you go out the room. And there was a guy next to me who had just come out of hospital and been told that he should never drink again. If he did, he would die. And he was going in and out of that room with no support, no community, no connection with anybody. It made me really, really angry. And I decided there had to be something better than that. But of course, I still have my own journey to go through. Now, really exciting for me, right? In my political life, I spent a lot of time working on the Olympic bid and wanting the Olympics to come to London. And at 3 months alcohol-free, I was volunteering on the Olympic Games. Who felt like the best athlete in that whole fucking stadium? That was me! I would go in the morning and go, it's 6 a.m. I haven't seen this time of day for ages. And I ferried all sorts of athletes around. I won't tell you what it was like ferrying the Williams sisters around. But it was amazing. At 3 months, my energy had come back. For those of you who might still be in your early days, it really began to show then. At 6 months, my brain came back. And as they say, sort of the rest is history. And I began to put some ideas together about Club Soda. Now, Club Soda, why did I set up Club Soda? Well, I didn't think that there was, and there really isn't anything in the UK that's designed for people who want to do a self-guided journey. Why is there all sorts of clubs for people who want to lose weight, but there isn't a club for those of us who just want to change our drinking? that didn't involve going into face-to-face services. And in the UK, we have, state-funded face-to-face services that are open 9 to 5. It's okay, as long as you're not working, right? And then maybe your problems might be more significant. Or there's AA, which really didn't sit well with me. In political terms, I'm a Liberal Democrat, which is sort of libertarian, slightly economic right. And I don't believe in God and those things, and so it really didn't sit well with me, and I wasn't going to go anywhere near AA. So what was it we could create? And so that's where the idea from Club Soda came. And I wanted to root Club Soda in exactly what Annie does with all of you, which is root it in science and behaviour change. Because there's enough information out there that should be able to power all of our journeys, right? So I always describe Club Soda as being aimed at a very particular group of people. Now, there's a very important medical term coming up right now. It's aimed at everyone who's a bit of a dickhead with booze. Hands up if you think you might have been a bit of a dickhead with booze. See? So that's what we're there for. And our aim is to give you a community to be part of while you undertake a self-guided journey. And it's really important the way that we've gone about that. And you'll see it in everything that Scott talks to you about and Annie talks to you about. But we use University College London's behaviour change taxonomy so that I can pretend to be dead clever. But basically, there are 96 behaviour change techniques in this world. And some of them you might recognise. They're things like being fined for things and extra taxes and banning things. They're all behaviour change techniques. There's also the behaviour change technique that public health like to use, which is the one that goes, alcohol's bad for you, it's terrible for you, it's evil for you, we're all going to die. That's a whole set of behaviour change techniques about telling you about the consequences of drinking too much. But what public health and other people don't spend much time on is talking to you about why you might want to change, what the benefits of change are, how you might feel without alcohol in your life. And also dealing with the fact that you will be taking something away from your life that you've been very used to that is actually quite important for us as communities socially. It's a social drug, is alcohol. We've been taught from a very young age that if we're happy and we want to be happier, we should drink. If we're sad and we want to be sadder, we should drink. If we're stressed, we should drink. If somebody's died, the only way you can really, really respect their death is to drink. The only way to celebrate a special day of someone getting married is to drink. Or if there's a christening that you need to wet the baby's head with, drink, right? So we've been taught from such a young age, this isn't just about the power of alcohol on your brain once you've got it in your mouth. It's the power of a whole society that's continually telling you that you need to drink. And nobody really tells you how you deal with all of that social pressure. But behaviour change theory and bringing some behaviour change techniques into play helps do that. So let me tell you a bit about how we've started to do that in Club Soda. So we do lots of things. We do too many things, but I'll explain what some of these are to you. So we run the Mindful Drinking Festival in the UK, which is a big alcohol-free drinks festival. All our American members continually tell us that we've got better alcohol-free drinks than you've got here. I don't understand why that is, because Americans are normally ahead of the curve on things around health and us, so it always surprises me. But I think that the shift in drinking in the UK has been such that all the drinks industry are really scared and they're all rushing to market with products. So we've got something like 20 alcohol-free spirits now, and we've got, I'll tell you a few more stats in a bit, but we put on this festival so people can try new drinks because, and here's a behavioural insight that you guys will recognise, people will buy a brand of alcohol they've never tried before because it's got alcohol in. But people won't spend £1.50 on an alcohol-free drink unless they know they definitely like it. We act differently around alcohol-free drinks. So we wanted to create an opportunity for people to try the new wave of drinks, and it's a free event. And we now have talks and workshops around it. We have a pub guide. Bottom left here is some Club Soda members, and we're on telly with Gloria Hunniford on daytime telly, talking about the price of alcohol-free drinks. Ali's a member of Club Soda. We like to try and outquiff the BBC. We're doing quite well at it so far. Our members now run local socials, which are basically lunches. We do mindful pub crawls. We've got a pub guide and a venue guide. And then actually I've realised that this year, this is the first time I've done a talk to people who are trying to change their drinking habits, rather than talking to a room full of people who run pubs and bars and restaurants, because that's nearly all I've spent the last year doing, which is talking to the industry about how they can change and how much quicker we can change this space. And we also have our community. So we've got 40,000 members in Club Soda, all trying to change their drinking and all supporting each other to do that. So we do lots of things that sound all very bitty and really freak out my colleagues, actually, because I'm not allowed any more ideas. There's been a moratorium on ideas for the rest of the year. But these are all things that are about norming a change in your drinking habits. We always do our Club Soda lunches in pubs and bars, and everyone goes, oh, isn't that a bit weird? I go, no, we're practicing a new behaviour in a familiar setting. The joy of going to the bar for the first time and ordering an alcohol-free drink when you know that there's a table of people who know that that's what you've gone to do. Meeting strangers for the first time and not drinking is really important. And so we give people those opportunities to do that, and we don't shy away from all those spaces. So there's lots and bits and pieces we do, which is why I've decided to call this a movement, because then anything fits into that, right? That's it, it's just marketing. We're a movement because we can't quite explain what we do. But we consider ourselves a social impact movement as well. So underneath it all, what we're trying to do is subtly shift the way that society works. And so our overall goal, and I hope you will join me on this and what I'm going to talk to you about, our overall goal is to create a world where nobody feels out of place not drinking. So that may be about how you feel in yourself to walk into a pub and order an alcohol-free drink and spend some time with your mates, or it's about how accommodating the pub is to you as somebody who's decided you're not drinking anymore. They both work, and that's why we're working, I think, at both ends of that spectrum in terms of helping individuals either cut down, stop for a bit, or quit, and we're helping pubs be less reliant on alcohol as well. So we do all of these bits and pieces. And so I describe us, there's a slide in there? Oh, there we are. I describe us, this is from a pub crawl we did, I describe us as a pro-social movement. Because I believe most of all in changing your drinking habits, that you shouldn't hide away at home and say, well, that's it. My social life was what happened then, and now I'm not drinking, it shouldn't happen anymore. My view is that you have to get out and be in the world for a couple of reasons, which is we're in a very alcohol-centric world, so you need to learn to navigate it. But also because your social life can be better and richer and more fulfilled now you've changed your drinking. You might just need to learn how. I love this photo because I know for a fact that the man on the right of the photo there had a stinking hangover that day he came on this, and his mates had persuaded him to come because it's dry January, and they thought he should really start dry January even if it was a bit late. And he came up to him and went, oh, I'm really hungover, I'm going to look terrible in your photographs. But, you know, for me, it doesn't matter whether you turn up with a hangover or whether you turn up with questions or whether you just want to try some alcohol-free beer. The fact is he came in the room. And that's why I think it's really important that we consider ourselves pro-social. It's also important for you guys, just by being here today, is that you're meeting other people who are changing their drinking. We've just done a big piece of research funded by the Wellcome Trust about what works about Club Soda. We did a big consultation with all of our members. And the number one thing, whether it's online or in real life, connecting with other people on a similar journey to you is one of the most important things you can do. I call it the superfood of behaviour change, right? The fact that you can meet other people who may be further along in their journey than you is really important. The fact that you can learn from other people about how they've tackled situations is really important. And I know why that's important, because if you're in the UK, Public Health England put out guidance around changing drinking. And one of their pieces of guidance is this: how about you don't drink the whole bottle of wine and you leave the other half for another day or for cooking with? What other half of the bottle of wine? Maybe Public Health, you haven't tried to change your drinking habits like us, have you? Goodness me! Other half a bottle, save it for another day. Oh man! They clearly didn't know the closing time of every single pub near their house like I did. That's why Public Health should never write advice for people like us. people like us need other people like us to give us the advice, right? And in Club Soda, every member of Club Soda influences at least 3 other people to change their drinking habits just by not saying anything, just by being themselves and just changing their drinking habits and role modeling what it is they do. And role modeling is a really important behaviour change technique, one of the most important. So that's why you need to get together as often as you can, why we support our members to create localised socials. If any of you want to create a social, invite everyone from This Naked Mind, as well as everyone from Club Soda. You'll be welcome to talk to us about it. Anyway, the other thing about socialising, which I think is really important, is often if you speak to people who have not changed their drinking yet, but are really interested in how you changed your drinking, they will say to you, oh yeah, I'd love to change my drinking, but I don't want to give up my social life. I often find this is quite funny from my age group because most of us don't go out that often. Most of us are drinking at home, right? God, the myths we tell ourselves. Oh, no, I've got a really busy, hectic social schedule. I can't possibly give up drinking from that once every 2 months that I might possibly go out. It's right, rubbish. We tell ourselves such lies, right? But it's a barrier. People say to me, oh, well, I couldn't possibly not go out to this event and not drink. And so actually learning to go out and socialise is really important. Most people who join Club Soda who start off wanting to moderate their drinking is because they don't believe they can do that wedding without drinking. They don't think they can go to the pub without drinking. They don't think they can do after work drinks without drinking. So they want to save themselves for those occasions. But of course, even if you're moderating your drinking, which if you can do it, then absolutely Club Soda is there to support you to do that as well. But if you want to succeed at moderating your drinking, you have to know that you can do all of those events without drinking at the drop of a hat. Because otherwise you haven't been able to give yourself permission to learn not to drink in those situations. You haven't managed to exercise that muscle that can show you that you can or cannot drink. You need to be able to do socializing sober. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about socializing sober. I really shouldn't put these photos, because I now need to tell you a story about, this is from our first guide, and the guy on the right, he got sacked from his job from being too drunk. So it's not a really good set of photos, is it, that I've put here? But I always find that quite amusing. He was such our biggest fan as well. Anyway, I think in order to change your drinking, you need to be able to rethink what being social is for you. Now, do any of you, are there any particular social situations that you guys are really frightened about, or social interactions that really worry you? You can shout out, it's okay. So weddings, so those big set pieces.
Actually, sporting events, I grew up with 2 tennis courts and a pub in the backyard of Kick, and I was pulling tap when I was 5. So it's being around people and running a marathon and stuff, and I feel like I need to reward myself with beer. I used to, I'm over it, but alcohol around sports.
Yeah, around sports, but also you said a very important word there. You said the word reward, right? And so, and actually alcohol is a really big part of our reward structure, and going out, we feel, is, being social is part of our reward structure as well. So we feel we deserve to go out and be social, and of course we do. It's a wonderful thing. How did we end up in a world where we reduced the joy of meeting new people and making friends into something you can only do when you're half cut? It's amazing, isn't it? But yeah, but our reward of going out should also be the reward of getting drunk, right? So you need to begin to rethink your social life. Now, I think it's quite important to know that you don't have the same social life as you had when you were 20. You have already changed your social life quite significantly over the years. It may have gone from going out to pubs and bars to drinking wine at home, and then because we're incredibly sophisticated, we'd only really drink a good bottle of wine with a very good meal. Yeah. Because we don't have a drink problem, but what we've done is we've just, we're a connoisseur now, right? Yeah, that's what we do. So we've gone from just being what we call a binge drinker in the UK to being a sophisticated connoisseur who I only drink with meals. I just ate a lot of meals, right? That's all that happened. No wonder I was so fat, right? So you've already changed your social life. You can do it again, and it is possible. You also need to learn. The other thing that I always find really fascinating, right, is that we've been brought up to learn that if we're at something we're not enjoying, we should drink more. That's bonkers. If you're at something you're not enjoying, how about you go home? It's like an epiphany. Go home, watch a box set, eat loads of chocolate. That's what you do instead, right? These myths we tell ourselves. You stay at something you're not enjoying, you drink loads of more, you write off your whole weekend. What? That's stupid, right? So you need to learn the joy of missing out. So everyone talks about FOMO, the fear of missing out. And I bet you worry about that wedding and thinking you're going to be missing out on something. But I'm going to hopefully tell you that there's lots of things that you can enjoy about that event. But you can also enjoy knowing that you don't have to go to an event. You don't have to stay at things. When you arrive at a party, how about you say goodbye when you arrive? Oh, I might not catch you at the end of the evening because it would be so busy. So thank you for inviting me, and if I don't see you, I'll catch up with you later. Then you don't have to say goodbye. It's called an Irish goodbye. I think it's a very good thing to do, right? Nobody really cares if you leave, but they will encourage you to stay if you tell them you're leaving, right? So begin to experience the joy of missing out and start to think about what you're going to spend some of this extra time that you have. And you do have extra time, right? Weekends are really long. Who knew that there were all those hours in a weekend that weren't about nursing a hangover or just spending in a pub? So begin to rethink your social life. I now have this wonderful swim club with two friends who are actually members of Club Soda. We go to my outdoor swimming pool. Sound very sophisticated, don't I? In London, and we go swimming at 7:30 in the morning, and then we spend 2 hours over breakfast before we go to work. We all sit there going, we've just spent 2 hours having breakfast before we go to work. We've never have done that before, but you can socialise in the morning as well as the evening. You can socialise in the afternoon. There's no rule that says it all has to be about an evening that gets messy, right? So you can begin to rethink your social life and how connecting with people is really important for you. You can begin to realise that a 20-minute catch-up over coffee, you can get more from than the 4 hours you spent getting slaughtered in the pub on what you consider to be a really good night out, right? So begin to reframe the joy you get from those events. And I love those 20-minute coffees that I catch up with people on. I have also discovered that I've got more friends than I thought I had. Who knew? And that's because there were friends who used to avoid me because going out with me meant it was going to be a really messy night. And now they've all come back going, it's safe to go back out with Laura now. She's not drinking. In fact, she knows all the best places for alcohol-free drinks. So there you are. So isn't that amazing? You will re-find friends. I also think that you should be very, very strong and strident about what it is that you want. So who has persistent mates who go, oh, go on, just have one. Oh, well, it's my birthday, just have one. We'd have all come across persistent mates. And my generation in the UK in particular, I'll explain my generation. So I'm 45, and I'm the ladette generation in the UK, which is we were a bit of a lad. Equality was about drinking pints in the same quantity and the same speed as, or in my case, faster than, the blokes. So my age group, this age group, we call ourselves the ladette age group, and we're all now changing our drinking habits because we realise that basically you can eat as much kale as you like, but you're undoing all that hard work if you're smashing a bottle of wine into your face every evening. So my generation was all about that, and that makes it very difficult for our generation to accept that somebody in our peer group isn't drinking anymore, and they can be really persistent and very manipulative. Oh, go on, it's my birthday. I'm sure I saw you drink last week. And I think you need to be really clear and bold with people like that. So practice it in the mirror if you have to, but say to people, I'm not drinking, and try and just move the conversation on. If you can. I'm not drinking, it's non-negotiable. The minute you go, well, I've decided I'm not drinking for a month, then you give them a segue in, and they get in there and they try and manipulate you to drink. Don't give them any leeway. Say it bold and clear. I'm not drinking tonight. Get me alcohol-free beer. How are your kids? Move that conversation on. If they're really persistent, then say to them, look, I've decided that for reasons of my own that I'm not drinking this evening. And if you've got a health goal that you're trying to achieve yourself, can I help you in return? But it would really help me if you didn't push me to have a drink. And be very clear what behaviour it is you need from somebody else, you need from those persistent mates. Otherwise, they will try and get in there and try and wheedle the way through. But nobody can refuse when a friend asks for a direct request for help or something that you need from them. So be clear with them. I'm not drinking. It would really help me if you didn't put me under pressure to drink this evening. These are decisions I made for myself, but I'm going to help you with the marathon that you're training for or the diet that you're on. Everyone's always on a diet at some point in time. You're pretty safe on that one, aren't you? So you know, be strident about what you want and take control of your agenda. So you can take control and say, well, actually, how about we do the cinema? How about we do the theatre? How about we do bowling? Begin to really Google and find out what's on in your local area. I've spent quite a bit of time Googling on behalf of members about I know loads that's on in strange places in America. I'm sure there's yoga classes in your local library. I'm sure you could go to those. Look, there's a knitting club. Just go. It doesn't matter if you enjoy knitting. You don't have to be good at it. You just have to be somewhere with people. I'm not going to, Jolene's at the back knitting. Just want to tell you this now. Just waving her knitting about. The number of people doing crochet in our community, I don't get it. But anyway, I did take up a brief stint of sewing after I gave up drinking. Poor Yusi, my co-founder, has these lovely pink gingham pajama bottoms that I made for him that are too small and have got 2 different size legs. But it doesn't matter. It kept my hands busy for a few months after I gave up drinking. Anyway, so do go out. And another reason, so when you go to your wedding and if you go to events, I always put that I'm not drinking as one of my dietary requirements. Because that's all it is. It's a dietary requirement, right? And so I always put dietary requirement, I'm alcohol-free, you better have a really good alcohol-free option for me this evening. Always put it on your RSVP. And then in brackets, if you don't, I'll tell Laura Club Soda and she'll tweet and shame you. Close brackets. That's what you need to do. So actually, for your wedding, I would say that you tell them that you've got a specific dietary requirement, you're bringing your own drink. They could charge you corkage, but corkage has to reflect what you would have drunk instead, and as you would have only drunk tap water, that's no corkage, right? No corkage. Oh, well, I could give you some options that you can go and buy and take along. Often, if you speak to a venue in advance and tell them that you want to bring your own drink because they don't have any alcohol-free options, they'll be fine about it. And you can have a little bit of a fight about it, which I like to do. But, you know, there's no, God, could you imagine? Like, I feel, as somebody who's been a campaigner all my life, however did I manage to do that with a hangover? Because if you thought I was dangerous then, I am so much more dangerous now. Oh. Like a bigger pain in the arse than anyone could possibly recognise. So do phone up. Say that you're not drinking because you're driving. And if they tell you that they've only got Beck's Blue or that they can make you something with juice or that they will serve orange juice as an alcohol-free option. Now, I have to tell you this. A 30p carton of juice poured into a jug and left for me to serve myself while everyone else gets poured wine and beer is not only not a quality of experience, but also it's not 1980 and it's not breakfast. What is with the orange juice? It's not an adult grown-up drink. Oh, I'm going to talk to you a bit about that. So anyway, before I get on to that, this is my favourite thing that I use when I'm going out in an evening and I want to plan ahead. And I can't believe that I'm here telling you all that planning is your best friend in changing your drinking habits. The more you can think ahead, the more likely you are to succeed. So if you think about all the social events that you possibly go to, everything from Friday night drinks with work through to weddings and particular events with friends, then you can put this if but then plan in place. Think through the event and think what the triggers might be. So if I get to the pub and there's no really interesting drinks, what are you going to do instead? If my mates are really persistent and try getting me to drink, what am I going to do instead? If I'm invited to a wedding and they do a toast, because the toast, they absolutely, toasting with water, come on. If they get to the toast, there's nothing for me to drink, what am I going to do instead? The better you plan, the more you're able to execute your social life better. So, for example, if your mates are putting you under a bit of pressure, just take some time out. Leave the pub, walk around the block, go into the toilets, have a look on Club Soda or Annie Grace's community and have a little chat with people. Do what you need to do. But know that this is a tool that you have in your armoury that you've planned ahead. I take my own drinks to pubs. No one cares. I used to get thrown out the pub all the time. Now I take my own drinks in. Nobody cares. It's really, really upsetting. But, small shampoo bottle with something, a really nice cordial that you can pimp your own tonic with. Perfect. if you've got it there as a backup so that you know anywhere you go, you've got something that you will enjoy and you won't feel you're having a second-class experience, it's really important. So begin to think about your social life. Begin to think about even the fact that you may get to a Friday evening, and that's a big trigger point for lots of people in Club Soda. I've got to Friday evening and I no longer have anything to do. What am I going to do instead? And begin to plan ahead so that you know when you get to Friday, you've got something you're looking forward to. You've got a social reward that doesn't involve drinking in the diary. You know who you're going to see. And it amazes me that, you know, in London, I can go to a classical music concert for less than the price of a bottle of wine. Why would I now want a bottle of wine when there's amazing concerts on? And I love the fact that I remember the second half of plays now. Apparently it wasn't my job to keep London's theatre sector going by drinking shit wine before, during and after the production. Who knew? This life's full of revelations. It's like 100 little epiphanies changing your drinking. So let me talk to you a bit about being a bit of a sober activist. Because look, I'm already looking at the time, I'm running out. And there was me thinking I was going to rush this and run out of stuff to say. This logo on the left, actually, we're running a campaign in a university, this Freshers, around normalising not drinking. And we actually got some quite famous designers to design this logo. And it really interests me because when I first set up Club Soda, I wrote a little booklet called Rebel Non-Drinking, which was all about how to take your own drink to the pub, basically. And my colleagues told me that we really shouldn't use that word because most people want to fit in. They don't want to be a rebel. Apparently not everyone's like me and revels in just having arguments about things. It's amazing, who knew? Not everyone wants to be a rebel. But I'm beginning to feel that since, you know, Annie Grace has been going a bit longer than we have, and we've now got this massive community, that we've become a community that can change things. And the more that we stick up and stand up, the more we can make it better for the next person that goes to a social event after us or goes into a pub or bar or restaurant after us. And I could talk about this issue on its own for hours, about that change. But the way I've been talking about it in the UK with pubs and bars is like this, which is that I am a customer and I want to spend money and I want to have an equal experience. I don't want to be served a half a pint of Coke out of a hose as if I'm about to go and wait in the car park for my dad. It's as simple as that. For me, a drink on an evening out isn't something I can get as part of a $3.99 lunch deal at the petrol station. I want to be served like a grown-up customer with a drink that's designed for grown-ups. You know, there's definitely, for me, something that I want different in the evening than what I want for hydration during the day. So we've now been talking to pubs and bars about why they need to offer this. And there's a really compelling argument, which is that pubs and bars are closing in the UK all the time. About 8 million people are trying to moderate their drinking at any point in time in the UK. And most people's preferred moderation option is to have nights off from drinking, which means they're not going to the pub, because we've associated the pub only with drinking. We need to stop that. We need to start seeing the pub and associating it with being social, regardless of what the strength of the drink is in your glass, right? So we've begun to speak to pubs and bars about this, who are actually, I mean, you can buy kombucha on draft in Shoreditch. I mean, that's a very trendy part of the UK. But nonetheless, the fact that you can buy kombucha in pubs, even in some what I would call old man pubs, is really interesting. The number of alcohol-free beers has grown. It is the growth market in the UK. And I have no doubt that it's coming here. And the reason why I brought mocktails for you today is the guy who makes mocktails is called Bill, and he has designed these mocktails because his wife doesn't drink and he does, but they wanted to have an equal experience when they go out to the pub and the bar, and he felt that her experience that she got every time they went out was second class. And it was. We're treated like second class customers. You need to know that I might not be drinking all of the drinks, as many drinks as somebody who's drinking alcohol, but I am eating the port scratchings and having dessert. And they are about the same price, right? So I'm still spending money. So Bill is American. The person who designed mocktails is a woman called Ezra, who runs 2 of the top 10 cocktail bars in America, okay? And so when you take those bottles back, the reason why we didn't give you a bottle opener is you really do need to chill it down, get a big glass with ice in, dress it like you would of the cocktail that's on the front, and try it. Because he's designed something that's not as sweet, that goes with food, that tastes like the real thing, has really complex notes in it, and even has, many of the drinks come through, have got little speed humps in them. What do I mean by speed humps? Well, if you alcohol, naturally, you drink slightly slower, apparently. It's not my experience, but anyway. A lot of the alcohol-free producers are producing drinks that are designed in a way that, so you don't drink it down like a Coke, you sip it, and it makes it more sippable. So there's speed humps in there. So there is this new wave of drinks coming through, and they're beginning to come to the US. I think Seed Lips come here, but there are actually tons that are coming through, and you need to start asking for them. And what Bill tells me is more powerful than him sending out salespeople to pubs and bars as restaurants, is for you to start asking what you want from your local. Say to them, look, I'm not drinking anymore, but I really want to come here and spend loads of money. This is the drink that I would like you to stock. Could you stock it, please? And start to be an active consumer. And don't go, oh, well, I've just walked into a pub. Don't assume they'll have nothing and just ask for Coke. Go up and really take your time at the bar and challenge the bar staff. I'm not drinking today. What have you got for me? No, that's not good enough. No, that's not good enough. Come on, you must have something better. And begin to really make that challenge, because the more you ask, the more the bars will start to go, hang on, we're being asked a lot for something that we don't yet have. What can we do about it? In the UK, the beer producers have been amazing, and they are producing this amazing, all the craft brewers are producing amazing alcohol-free beers and are really proud of them. And so we can begin to do the same here with beer producers. And because of all of this work we've been doing, Bill wants us to do a no and low drinks conference for drinks producers in the US to tell them why they need to embrace this movement. And they need to embrace it because of all of you. All of you with deep pockets who want nice drinks, right? So I hope to be able to share with you more drinks. In the UK, we've produced a guide. It has only got UK pubs on it, but I'll tell you a little bit about it because somebody in the room might be able to help. So our guide is now the ultimate guide for mindful drinkers. I wanted to call it, the word mindful drinking, by the way, came about because I wanted to call it the guide for healthier drinkers. But when we talk about low and no, and you can't talk about alcohol and health, so we pumped for the word mindful, and it all went a bit mental. So I think we got the right wording. You can now find on here 850 drinks designed for adults in the alcohol-free, low and no alcohol market. Made by about 350 to 400 producers. We've got the biggest database in the UK. A lot of them will be coming over here very soon. You can also then find which pubs stock them. Now, this is the important bit because the venues don't know this, but secretly it's a behaviour change tool for venues because they have to go in and they have to type in what drinks that they've got behind the bar, and there's an algorithm, and based on what they input, it tells them what their score is out of 5 for mindful drinkers. And in the UK, we're populating this guide in 2 ways. We're speaking to chains nationally, because a lot of them set their drinks menus nationally. So the point of influence is the drink buyer in All Bar One's headquarters. But we're also working with the public to crowdsource this. So you could go in and nominate your best venues. And over time, what's beginning to happen is some venues, like Heineken actually own one of the biggest chains of pubs in the UK, and they don't score 5, they score about 3, and they're really embarrassed. So at the minute, they are currently rethinking their stock so they can score 5 on our guide. So you can influence, because whenever I speak to pubs and bars about what the biggest point of influence for them, customer recognition is one of the #1 things that will get them to change what they do. So I'm hoping we can bring this. I'm speaking to somebody about taking this to Ireland, and Mothers Against Drink Driving here in the States. Bill knows them, and I'm interested in whether we might be able to talk to them about collaborating on bringing the guide here so we can crowdsource it together. And by doing that, you have a really influential tool. You can leave a card with your tip saying, your drinks were shit. Have a look at the club soda guide. They'll have some ideas on how you can improve it. You should get 5, or you were brilliant, I've nominated you for the Club Soda Guide because you scored 5. So you can see how, by working together in very public ways or just by working online, you can begin to change the way that the world works and shape it more so it works for us. Because in a world that's continually trying to get us drunk, which is exactly what the previous presentation showed us, the most rebellious act is to not drink. And the best thing you can do is to make that possible and give permission to other people to do the same, which is to not drink. So let me just end on my end of my story. So this picture actually makes me quite sad. So this is Charles Kennedy, who was he was a leader of the Liberal Democrats, and he was a leader when I stood for Parliament. An amazing man, and he died 2 years ago because drink was his poison. And I show you this picture because it's far happier than that. That made me quite sad. I wasn't expecting that. But what's really important for me is I always thought I was a people person. I loved going and doing all my casework in my constituency and speaking to people and realising how I could help people with their housing issues and how that linked to policy and how we could change policy to make things happen. And I believed it was, and I believe that quite strongly because in politics what you do is you meet, particularly in Britain, you meet a lot of boys who went to private school and they can name all of the previous prime ministers and they know like political history. But I could speak to people and they couldn't, so that was always a plus, right? And so I always believed I was a people person. And when I was drinking it the most, I didn't think I was a people person anymore. I began to think I couldn't hold a conversation. That was just a myth I told myself, was that I was a people person. Within weeks, in fact days of giving up drinking, all of those beautiful daily micro interactions that I have with people, from I talk to people on the tube and have conversations with people in shops and make jokes and all those sort of things, all of those small micro interactions started to come back. And I realised that I am a people person, and that's what I do. I enjoy spending time with people. Other people energise me because I'm an extrovert, and so that's why I always come up with so many ideas when I speak to people, and I get really excited when I hear your stories. And it brought me back to the person I was when I was 20 and I moved to London for the first time. I feel like I'm that person again. I am now living the values that were really important to me. I can now focus on the things that I think are really important to change about society, which is again why Club Soda is probably a movement rather than just a service or just a set of courses or just a community. Because I've become that person I was when I came back, moved to London all wide-eyed and bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, when Charles Kennedy was the leader of the Liberal Democrats and he inspired me to do so much. And so today, when you've heard about intentions and values, don't underestimate how important they are. There are things that you care about that you now have the energy to do something about. You will rediscover that person you were when you were in your 20s, before you started drinking so much and before that cumulative impact came. And you can be the person that you want to be, whether that is spending more time with your family or going and signing more petitions than you can possibly manage in half an hour. I'm only here to escape British politics, by the way, people. It's not really, it's all a bit traumatic right now. But believe that you can do that you can be those things, that you can make a life for yourself that you're proud of, and that you can live the life that you want. And if I can manage it, then you can manage it. And if you want to then go out and be a sober crusader, you can. But all of that is possible. All of that's within your gift. And all of that will happen if you can control your drinking and really kick the booze and become the person that you want to be. So that's my message for you today. You can take from that what you will. You can go out and smash the socialising and revelling, going to the pub and not drinking. I thought it was fantastic. I thought I had a superpower, right? You can go out and do that. Or you could do all of that in smaller ways by getting involved with things that you care about and discovering new hobbies and new things that interest you. But it's your life, so go out and make it all happen. Thank you very much.